Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear students, today we are going to discuss the summary of Heart of Darkness, written by Joseph Conrad. Dear students, let's begin part 1 of the summary. A ship called the Nili is cruising down the Thames. It will rest there as it awaits a change in tide. The narrator is an unidentified guest aboard the ship. He describes at length the appearance of the Thames as an interminable waterway, and then he describes the inhabitants of the ship. The director of the company doubles as captain and host. They all regard him with affection, trust, and respect. The liar is advanced in years and possesses many virtues. The accountant is trying with dominoes, trying to begin a game. They already share the bond of the sea. They are tolerant of one another. Then there is Marlow. He has an emaciated appearance, sunken cheeks, and a yellow complexion. The ship drops anchor, but nobody wants to begin the dominoes game. They sit meditatively at the sun, and the narrator takes great notice of how the water changes at the sun sets. Marlow suddenly speaks, noting that this also has been one of the dark places of the earth. He is a man who does not represent his class. He is a seaman, but also a wanderer, which is disdainful and odd, since most seamen live sedentary, lives about the ship that is their home. No one responds to the remark, and Marlow continues to talk of olden times, when the Romans arrived and brought light, which even now is constantly flickering. He says those people were not colonizers, but conquerors, taking everything by brute force. This taking of the earth is not a pretty thing when examined too closely. It is the idea behind it that people find redeeming. Then, to the dismay of his bored listeners, he switches into narration of a life experience, how he decided to be a freshwater sailor after coming into contact with colonization. As a child, Marlow had a passion for maps, and he would lose himself in the blank spaces, which gradually turned into dark ones as they became peopled. He was especially taken with the picture of a long, coiling river in his tale after a number of voyages in the Orient and India. Marlow hopes to get charge of the steamboats that must go up and down that river for trade. Marlow looks for a ship, but he has hard luck finding a position. His aunt has connections in the administration and writes to have him appointed a steamboat skipper. The appointment comes through very quickly, and Marlow is to take the place of Fresleven, a captain who was killed in a scuffle with the natives. He crosses the channel to sign the contract with his employees. Their office appears to him like a white sepulchre. The reception area is dimly lit. Two men sullenly man the area. Marlow notes that unfinished map, and he sees that he is going into the yellow section, the central area that holds the river. He signs but feels very uneasy, as the women look at him meaningfully. Then there is the visit to the doctor. Marlow questions why he is not with the company on its business. The doctor becomes cool and says he is no fool. Changes take place out there. He asks his patient whether there is madness in the family. With a clean bill of health and a long goodbye chat with his aunt, Marlow sets out on a French steamer, feeling like an impostor. Watching the coast as it slips by, the new skipper marvels at its enigmatic quality. It tempts and invites the seal to come ashore, but in a grim way. The weather is fierce, for the sun beats down strongly. The ship picks up others along the way, mainly soldiers and clerks. The trade names they pass on ships and on land seem almost farcical. There is a uniformity, somber atmosphere. After a month, Marlow arrives at the mouth of the bigger river and takes his passage on a little steamer. Once aboard, he learns that a man picked up the other day hanged himself recently. He is taken to his company station. He walks through pieces of decaying machinery and observes a stream of black people walking slowly, very thin and indifferent. One of the reclaimed carries a rifle at its middle. Marlow walks around to avoid this chain gang and finds a shade to rest. He sees more black people working, some who look like they are dying. One young man looks particularly hungry, and Marlow offers him the ship biscuit in his pocket. He notices that the boy is wearing white worsted around his neck, and he wonders what this is for. Marlow hastily makes his way towards the station. He meets a white man dressed elegantly and in perfect fashion. He is amazing and a miracle. After learning that he is the chief accountant of the company, Marlow respects him. The station is a model of activity. The new skipper waits there for 10 days. Living in a hut, frequently he visits the accountant, who tells him that he will meet Mr. Kurtz, a remarkable man in charge of the trading post in the Ivory Country. The accountant is irritated that a bed station for a dying man has been set up in his office. He remarks that he begins to hate the savage to death. He asks Marlow to tell Kurtz that everything is satisfactory. The next day, Marlow begins a 200-mile tramp into the interior. He crosses many paths, many deserted dwellings, and mysterious black men. His white companion becomes ill on the journey, which makes Marlow impatient but attentive. Finally, they arrive at the central station, and Marlow must see the general manager. The meeting is strange. The manager has a stealthy smile. He is obeyed, but he does not inspire love or fear. He only inspires uneasiness. The trading had begun with Marlow, who was late. There were rumors that an important station was in jeopardy and that its chief Kurtz was ill. A shipwreck on Marlow's boat has set them back. The manager is anxious and says it will be 3 months before they can make a full start in the trading. Marlow begins work in the station. Whispers of ivory punctuate the air throughout the days. One evening a shed almost burns down. A black man is beaten for this, and Marlow overhears. Kurtz take advantage of this incident. The manager's main spy, a first-class agent, befriends the new skipper and begins to question him extensively about Europe and the people he knows there. Marlow is confused about what this man hopes to learn. The agent becomes furiously annoyed. There is a dark sketch on his wall of a woman, blindfolded and carrying a lighted torch. The agent says, Kurtz painted it. Upon Marlow's inquiry about who this man is, he says that he is a prodigy, an emissary of pity and science. They want Europe to entrust the guidance of the cause to them. The agent talks precipitately, wanting Marlow to give Kurtz a favorable report about his disposition, because he believes Marlow has more influence in Europe than he actually does. The narrator breaks off for an instant and returns to his listeners on the ship, saying that they should be able to see more in retrospect than he could in the moment. Back in the story, he is bored by the droning of the agent. Marlow wants Rivers to stop the hole and get on with the work on his ship. He clamours about the ship is the one thing that truly excites him. He notes the foreman of the mechanics sitting on board. They cavort and talk happily of rivets that should arrive in 3 weeks. Instead of rivets, however, they receive an invasion of sulky black men with a white expedition leader who is the manager's uncle. Marlow meditates for a bit on Kurtz, wondering if he will be promoted to general manager and how he will set about his work when there. Dear students, let's begin part 2 of the summary of Heart of Darkness. While lying on the deck of his steamboat one evening, Marlow overhears a conversation between the manager and his uncle, leader of the expedition group that has arrived. Snatches of talk indicate that the two are conferring about Kurtz. The manager says he was forced to send him there. They say his influence is frightful, and they add that he is alone, having sent away all his assistants. The word ivory is also overheard. The two men are wondering how all this ivory has arrived and why Kurtz did not return to the main station as he should have. Marlow believes that this circumstance allows him to see Kurtz for the first time. The manager and his uncle say that either Kurtz or his assistant must be hanged as an example, so that they can get rid of unfair competition. Realizing that Marlow is nearby, they stop talking. Over the next few days, the expedition goes into the wilderness and loses all of their donkeys. As they arrive at the bank below Kurtz's station, Marlow is excited at the prospect of meeting him soon. To Marlow, traveling up the river is like going to the beginning of the world. He sees no joy in the sunshine. However, the past comes back to haunt him on this river. There is a stillness that does not resemble peace. It is alive and watching Marlow. He is concerned about scraping the bottom of his steamship on the river floor, which is disgraceful for seamen. 20 cannibals are his crew. The manager and some pilgrims are also on board. Sailing by stations, they hear the word ivory resonating everywhere. The massive trees make Marlow feel very small. The earth appears unearthly. The men are monstrous and not inhuman. This scares Marlow greatly. He believes the mind of man is capable of anything. They creep on towards Kurds. The ship comes across a deserted dwelling. Marlow finds a well-kept book about seamanship. It has notes in a language he cannot understand. Back on the boat, he pushes ahead. 8 miles from Kurds' station, the manager decides they will stay put for the evening. No sounds are heard as the sun rises. Complaining clamor with savage discord fills the air. Everyone fears an attack. One of the black crew members says that the attackers should be handed over to them and eaten. Marlow wonders why he and the other white crew members have not been eaten, for the cannibals could easily overpower them. The manager insincerely worries that something might have happened to Kurds. Marlow does not believe there will be an attack because the jungle and frogs seem impenetrable. No one believes him. Some men go to investigate the shore. A pattering sound is audible. Flying arrows. The helmsman on the ship panics and does not steer properly. The crew fires rifles into the bushes. A black man is shot and lies at Marlow's feet. He tries to talk but dies before he can get any words out. Marlow supposes that Kurtz has perished in this attack. He is exceedingly upset, for talking to the mythical man has become his major point of interest. In a fit of distress, Marlow throws his shoes overboard. He tells the listeners on the Thames ship that the privilege of talking to Kurtz was waiting for him. Marlow relates that Kurtz mentioned a girl and noted that his shanty was bursting with ivory. Kurtz now has taken the position of devil of the land. Originally, he was well educated, but he has become entirely native to Africa, participating in rituals and rites. Kurtz is anything but common. Back in the battle, the helmsman is killed. Marlow throws the body overboard. After a simple funeral, the steamer continues moving. Miraculously, they see Kurtz's station, which they had assumed to be lost. They see the figure of a man whom Marlow identifies as a Harlequin type. This man says that Kurtz is present, and he assures them that they need not fear the natives, who are simple people. He speaks with Marlow, introducing himself as a Russian. The book Marlow holds is actually his, and he is grateful to have it returned. The Russian says the ship was attacked because the natives do not want Kurtz to leave with the crew, for he has broadened everyone's mind there. Dear students, let's begin part 3 of the summary of Heart of Darkness. Marlow is astonished at the Russian's words. He is gathering a clearer picture of Kurtz. The Russian says that he has gone so far that he does not know if he will ever get back. Apparently he has been alone with Kurtz for many months. His sense of adventure is pure, and glamour urges him onward. The Russian remembers the first night he spoke to Kurtz. He forgot to sleep. He was so captivated. Kurtz made him see things. He has nursed this great man through illness and has accompanied him on explorations to villages. Kurtz has raided the country by securing the cooperation of the nearby tribe. whose members all adore him. He loses himself in ivory hunts for weeks at a time. The Russian disagrees that Kurtz is mad. Even when this bright-eyed adventurer was dismissed by his mentor, he refused to go. Kurtz went down the river alone to make another ivory raid. His illness acted upon, so the Russian joined him in order to take care of him. Presently, Kurtz lies in a hut surrounded by heads on stakes. Marlow is not very shocked at the sight. He takes this as an indication that Kurtz lacks restraint in the gratification of his lusts, a condition for which the wilderness is culpable. Marlow assumes that Kurtz was hollow inside and needed something to fill that lack. The Russian is perturbed by Marlow's attitude of skepticism. He also has heard enough about the ceremonies surrounded this revered man. Suddenly, a group of men appear around the house. They convene around the stretcher that holds the dying Kurtz. He tells the natives to leave. The pilgrims carry him to another cabin and give him his correspondence. In a raspy voice, he says he is glad to meet Marlow. The manager comes in to talk privately with Kurtz, waiting on the boat with the Russian. Marlow sees the apparition of a gorgeous woman. She glitters with gold and paint, and she looks savage. She steps to the edge of the shore and eyes the steamer. She gestures violently toward the sky, turns and disappears into the thicket. The Harlequin man fears her. The manager emerges, taking Marlow aside. He says they have done all they can for Kurtz. He adds that Kurtz did more harm than good for the company. His actions were too vigorous for the moment. Marlow does not agree that Kurtz's method was unsound. To him, Kurtz is a remarkable man, even somehow a friend. Marlow wants the Russian to escape before he can be hanged. He states that he will keep Kurtz's reputation safe. It was Kurtz who ordered the attack on the steamer because he did not want to be taken away. Kurtz thus thought to fake his death. While Marlow dozes, drum beats and incantations fill the air. He looks into the cabin that holds Kurtz and discovers that he is missing. Marlow sees his trail and goes after him. The two men face one another. Kurtz pleads that he has plans. Marlow replies that his fame in Europe is assured. He realizes that this man's soul has gone mad. He is able to bring Kurtz back to the cabin. The ship departs the next day amongst a crowd of natives. Kurtz is brought into the pilot house of the ship. The tide of brown runs swiftly out of the heart of darkness. That is the life of Kurtz is ebbing. Marlow is in disfavor, lumped into the same category as Kurtz. The manager is now content. Marlow listens endlessly to Kurtz's bedside talk. He accepts a packet of papers and a photograph that his friend gives him in order to keep them out of the manager's hands. A few evenings later, Kurtz dies with one phrase on his lips: the horror, the horror. Marlow returns to Europe, but is plagued by the memory of his friend. He is disrespectful to everyone he encounters. The manager's demands the papers that Kurtz entrusted to Marlow. Marlow relinquishes the technical papers, but not the private letters or the photographs. All that remains of Kurtz is his memory, and the photo of his intended Kurtz is very much a living figure to Marlow. He visits the woman in the picture who embraces and welcomes him. She has silently mourned for the past year, and she needs to profess her love and how she knew Kurtz better than anyone. Marlow perceives that the room darkness when she says this. She speaks of Kurtz's amazing ability to draw people in through his incredibly eloquent speech. The woman says she will be unhappy for life. Marlow states that they can always remember him. She expresses a desperate need to keep his money alive, as well as guilt that she was not with him when he died. When the woman asks Marlow what Kurtz's final words were, he lies and says that Kurtz spoke her name. The woman weeps in triumph. Marlow states that to tell the truth would have been too dark. Back on the Thames River ship, a tranquil waterway leads into the heart of darkness. Dear students, the summary of Heart of Darkness ends here. Let's meet in the next video. Take very much care. Allah Hafiz.